Welcome to Our Voice. I'm Rebecca Evans.
And I'm Kim Peake. We have an outstanding lineup for you this week, starting with a sensitive topic in an interview with Chris Sevier.
And also we have Dr. Mac Test. He's on the show interviewing Jessica Holmes, the co-founder for Story Night.
Army Ranger Sean Parnell gives us an inspiring message.
And finally, in our Acoustic Cafe, we have artist and musician Steve Fulton.
And so much more, so please stay with us. As you know, we film here at the CenturyLink Arena with the support of the Grove Hotel.
And with that comes pampering at the spa. So we're going to check that out towards the end of the show.
I'm staying tuned for that.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay, good.
Okay, next, Kim is going to chat about some changes affecting pornography access. Stay tuned.
At Our Voice, we strive to bring you stories that matter. And today we're going to talk about a topic that's been in the shadows for many years, but recently has come into much public discussion, and that's the issue of pornography. Today we have Chris Sevier with us to talk about the solutions to this problem to cure the public health crisis of pornography. Welcome, Chris. We're so glad to have you at Our Voice.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, we're so glad that you're here. And what I'd like to start with is just kind of ask you, what was a defining moment for you in your life that kind of led you to dedicate so much of your life to this issue?
So pretty much, I went to Vanderbilt undergrad, majored in politics, Vanderbilt Law School, then was running a record company in Music Row, Nashville, became a judge advocate, joined the military, went on a bunch of combat missions, got involved with overseas mission trips, and then from there got involved with the extraction side of human trafficking, working with former FBI and special ops to rescue girls from human trafficking in overseas countries. And in looking at all the research, it became quite clear that we were just piddling with a symptom, that the true problem is we have to first address the demand side. And there's a correlation between easily accessible pornography on devices that distribute all the content on the internet and the demand side for human trafficking. And so I decided to do something to help try to push pornography back underground, get it off of the devices to where these products which have made pornography unavoidable, so to speak.
Most of us, when we think about pornography, would think, well, the users and the content creators are the issue. And so what you're saying is the tech companies also need to share some of that responsibility.
They should share the majority of that responsibility. I mean, the way you may think about a car, without a car, there is no car wrecks. Therefore, a car manufacturer has a duty to sell their cars with seat belts to mitigate the foreseeable the harm caused by wrecks. Same things with these products. Without the product that turns on and off, there is no porn pandemic.
Okay, so this is the bill you're working on.
Yeah.
I would assume you're getting a lot of backlash from a lot of fronts on this bill because first thing people would talk about, well, how does this infringe on our First Amendment rights? What do you say to that?
No, yeah, this is a, my opponents in federal court. So there's a litigation side and then it's the legislation side. Literally in court, I'm asking the court to find the very law that I'm at the same time codifying. I'm pretty much arguing that the tech companies are violating the existing display laws, which is to say if you have a 7-Eleven store, you've got to sell your pornographic girly magazine behind a blinder rack. And I'm saying that these products are like handheld retail stores, and they have an existing duty to sell their products under a digital filter blinder rack that would block out obscenity. And so they say this is a First Amendment issue, and I'm saying this is not a First Amendment issue, this is a mental health one. Consumers should have the right to regulate their own mental health. I mean, pornography is injuring people's emotional, reproductive, relational, spiritual, and mental health. And so it's really, consumers should have a choice to choose what set of influences they're exposed to. And so it's really, the freedom is in the freedom to be able to choose to have access to that content or not have access, instead of letting the tech companies patronizingly make that decision for adult consumers. And of course, children, minors, should never have had a decision in that to begin with. Every time they sell a filterless product to a minor, they are violating existing federal and state obscenity statutes clearly.
How are filterless devices a form of sexual exploitation for consumers?
So this is a matter of consent. So, you know, consent spread across a continuum, and consumers have the individual fundamental right to choose to consent to what kind of influences they're exposed to. So they should have the right to decide that for themselves. I mean, we have to have prevention first and not prosecution as solutions to problems relating to human trafficking and child pornography. Right now, you could buy a filterless device, be exposed, you know, incidentally to child pornography and go to jail for that. So it's kind of outrageous. So it needs to be, you know, there needs to be, you know, all criminal matters, the element of intent is very central to those matters. So there needs to be intentionality reinforced by the existing law, and we can do that by making the products, the device makers and internet service providers sell their products with these filters, so you can intentionally choose to remove it, and then you're subject to the whatever consequences flow from that, but at least you have a choice involved. And so that's really where the freedom interest lies, and the freedom to choose what set of influences you're exposed to in the area of obscenity.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for being on Our Voice. You've taken us deep into the issue, but you've also given it to us at a level that we can all take it in and know how to learn more. So
yes,
thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So Kim, it sounds like there's really been some heavy research going on. What would be your takeaway?
I think my biggest takeaway is just that it is really important to look at pornography access to children, you know, and we need to find a solution to that. It's not positive or healthy for children to be on a computer or any kind of device and all of a sudden pornography pops up. So I think that's something we really need to look at.
Yeah. When you add to children, it changes the whole topic.
Exactly.
So,
exactly.
Yeah,
that's
point.
a whole different discussion than just access in general.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, thanks.
thank you. So coming up on Our Voice, Dr. Mac Tess takes a moment to chat with Jessica Holmes about Story Night.
Welcome back. I am happy to be here speaking with Jessica Holmes, who is the co-founder and creative driving force behind Story Night here in Boise, Idaho. Jessica is also the owner and operator of Jessica Holmes Copywriting, which is a masterful company that works with words and marketing and ad agencies here in Idaho and beyond. She's received accolades from Idaho Business Review as an accomplished under 40. She received that in 2011. She also won an inaugural Boise's Funniest Person in Stand-Up Comedy. And finally, she was awarded in Boise Weeklies in 2013 to be the best invitee to your next cocktail party. So, welcome, Jessica.
Thank you.
It's really great to have you here on Our Voice.
Great to be here, yeah.
So Story Night, this is something that maybe some of our viewers haven't heard of, don't know about. So could you tell me a little bit about Story Night? What is it?
What is it? It is a live storytelling program where we gather together the community to share our true stories on a theme, live and without notes. So it's pretty adventurous. People get up and tell featured stories, which are 10 to 15-minute stories, or we also intermix that with an open story slam where we draw names from a hat. Yeah.
Draw names from a hat.
Yes. So they come to the show, drop their name in, and it's a random luck of the draw. Yeah.
Okay.
That's what makes it so exciting, I think.
So Story Night, where can we see this show now?
Well, we do kind of 3 different versions of our show right now. We're right about to enter our late night season. It's called Story Late Night. It's the black sheep of our storytelling family. Okay. So it's adults only. Yeah, it's at the Visual Arts Collective. And we also have our flagship season, which is a longer season that we hold at the El Cross Shrine, and then a special event that we hold at Boise Contemporary Theater called Starry Story Night. With like famous people.
Well, how did this begin? You know, you've mentioned that you have not only one venue, but multiple venues, multiple programs going on now. How long has it been going on, and how did it start?
It has been going on for 6 years. We just celebrated our 6th birthday in April.
Congratulations.
Thank you. We're so old. Yeah. But it was just kind of an idea. Live storytelling was just starting to kind of take off. Mainly through this organization called The Moth out of New York. And we really wanted to bring The Moth here, and when we weren't able to, we just decided to start our own storytelling events.
Did you think that Story Night was going to be as successful as it has been when you started it? What did you think would happen?
I had no conception. I don't know. Starting an event-based performing arts thing, I don't know what I was thinking. but it ended up being just a phenomenal success from word one, honestly. Just packed houses. People are craving it, I think.
It's interesting to think of, you know, personally I might say, okay, I want to go hear somebody tell some stories. I don't know who the person is, where they come from. And I might not be, it doesn't sound as interesting as actually it is. Like, how does it work so well?
I think it works because of the power of vulnerability and surprise. So we try and focus on those two elements. A story works, I think, when there's a surprising moment. So it surprises the person in their real life, and then it surprises our audience. And by revealing something personal, usually our best stories, they don't make us look fantastic, you know. But it just makes people feel like they understand the human experience better and that they can relate and connect, and then it kind of lifts shame, honestly. Yeah, sometimes, And sometimes it's just an adventure story,
Gotcha. So what events do you have coming up in the near future? Things that our viewers could come see.
We're just starting our late night season, so that's our adults only season at the Visual Arts Collective. That is on the last Monday of every month in the summer. We have a couple of special events coming up. Yeah, it should be great.
Well, everybody should keep an eye out for Story Night. Well, thank you very much, Jessica.
Thanks so much.
It's been marvelous talking with you. And next up, we have Sean Parnell, a decorated war veteran, who is author of the Outlaw Platoon. So stay tuned.
I recently had the incredible opportunity to sit down and talk with Sean Parnell. He is a modern-day war hero. Let's take a look. We're really honored today to have Sean Parnell with us as our guest. And I just want to tell you a little bit about Sean. He served on the battlefield, and now that he's back, he spent the last 4 years of his life dedicated to supporting and empowering our U.S. veterans. So Sean, welcome.
Yep, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
It's great to be in Boise, and we were just talking, you've been to Boise before and you really enjoyed it? I
have. This community is amazing, and this place really supports their veterans, you know.
Their veterans.
It's awesome.
I do. I think Boise is a great community to support veterans, to appreciate their service, their sacrifice. And I want to talk about your story, which in some ways started on 9/11 and the events that happened that day. So share with us how you reacted to that and how that ultimately led you to join the military yourself.
Well, I was just a college kid. I was a sophomore. I was an elementary education major, even though I wasn't really sure that that's what I wanted to do. And I just woke up one morning surrounded by beer cans, because that was just sort of what we did. That was just sort of what we did. And had kind of a hangover, and I stumbled over to the TV set, turned it on, and watched a plane fly into the South Tower. And that moment changed my life really forever. And I'm sitting there thinking, I've got to get involved somehow, some way. And one thing led to another, and I ended up leaving the elementary education major behind and joining ROTC and joining the Army. I just sort of knew that was my path. And I mean, 48 hours later, I was talking to a recruiter saying like, this is what I want to do. And of course, my dad like almost had a heart attack. And you know, my mom was like, hey, maybe we should think about how you want to serve, the capacity in which you want to serve. And so I ended up staying in college, getting my degree, and joining as an officer.
So take us from 2004 to 2006 when you become the leader of the Outlaw Platoon.
Well, I mean, so I went to officer basic course, which is where they send young officers, and I went to airborne school and ranger school. And then I ended up taking command of this like motley group of men in Memorial Day, basically, of 2005, so I took command.
Okay, 2005.
And then 8 months later, you know, we went 8 months of training, and then 8 months later, we were in Afghanistan together, and I was their platoon leader.
You were one of the longest deployed platoons in modern warfare history of our country. So tell us why that happened and how that happened.
People don't recognize that, and that's part of one of the reasons why I wrote the book, because it was just a horrible deployment. We never anticipated what we were walking on. We walked into a meat grinder, really, and 485 days. Just put that in context. Normandy to Hitler's Eagle's Nest during World War II, the war was won. in less time than 485 days. War in Europe was won. And my guys never left the trenches the whole time. About 6 months into the deployment, we realized that most Americans didn't really know what was going on over there, and there was a lot going on. And that's why I felt it was important to write the book and get their story out there so that Americans knew.
So you're a New York Times bestselling author. Tell us the name of the book.
It's called Outlaw Platoon, Heroes, Renegades, Infidels, and the Brotherhood of War in Afghanistan.
So, and not only were you a combat leader, but you led these men, as you say, through this long deployment. Was there a defining moment for you when you're like, I don't know if I can do this anymore, and what kept you going?
Yeah, well, I feel like there are a lot of defining moments in combat for a leader, you know, and for me, I think the most important moment as a combat leader in the war for me was our first firefight. I mean, you know, as a leader, you do everything you can to protect your men and garrison and lead your men and make sure that they're insulated from some of the bureaucratic nightmare stuff that the Army has to offer.
Sure.
But you never really know how effective you're going to be until that first bullet cracks by your head. And so, and you never know how you're going to react. Everybody reacts differently. My platoon got ambushed on May 7th, 2006, and that was our first firefight. And we got ambushed from all sides, and we were trapped in this kill zone. And I had a moment where I could either make a decision in that moment and try to lead my men out of it, and even though it was kind of an unconventional decision, or not, and probably sit there and die, really. I mean, that was probably the option. So, you know, when we're surrounded, outmanned, and outgunned, like I got out of my truck in the middle of this kill zone and led my men up this hill dismounted, and we fought back to the enemy and took the high ground, and we ended up winning the day. But, you know, I didn't know at the time how my men were going to see that decision until we came back to the base and they, you know, walked into the chow hall, to the dining facility, and everybody just started clapping for me. And so for me as it was a pretty incredible moment as a leader, you know, and it was something I'll never forget. But for me, that was the moment where I recognized that my men truly did accept and trust me to make decisions that could cost them their lives, you know.
One thing that really struck me that I read that you said, there's seen and there's unseen injuries, and I know you're really concerned about the unseen injuries that some U.S. vets come back with. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I mean, you know, when the bombs and the bullets stop, the war doesn't stop in the hearts of our veterans, really. War changes you. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You come back a different person, and oftentimes your own parents don't recognize you anymore. And so that can cause a lot of internal strife with guys that are just really struggling with their experience, but really don't know how to articulate it. You know, and so what our organization does is try to give them the space to do that. Try to say, hey, look, you know, it all starts with a conversation. Americans want to know what you went through. It all starts with just a conversation about what service was like, and a mutual respect and understanding to help facilitate that.
Let me just ask you one final question. How can just average Americans like me, how can we help with what you're doing to reach out to support and to help veterans really get back into their life and live a life they love here in the U.S.?
Well, almost everybody knows a veteran. They either have a family member that served or they're friends with somebody that served, and so find that person and just talk to them. You know, just say, hey, look, I mean, there's no way I can ever understand what you went through. But I feel like it's my duty to understand it, and I want to hear it. You're not going to hurt me with it, so tell me. And most veterans aren't going to dump their experience on you right then and there, but you are giving them permission to sort of tell their story, and eventually they'll tell you. And I'm telling you, it will save lives. I mean, it's a hard time to be a veteran in America today. And look, we're not victims. We're empowered by our experience of war. That's another thing. We're not victims. We're not broken by the war. We're empowered by our experiences. It's just we need to shine a little bit of light on that. And so the first step to do that is just by a regular conversation. And so seek out the veterans, celebrate them, ask them about their experience, because passing on that legacy is absolutely critical to making sure that we raise our kids knowing what freedom really is and what we sacrificed for.
Kim, what an inspiring story. I mean, oh my goodness, what one thing could you take away?
Well, at the end, I asked him, out of all of his titles, and I listed his awards and his titles, his military experience, I said, what means the most to you? He goes, you know, what means the most to me is platoon leader, because I was responsible to take care of those 40 guys. And I just thought that was really incredible.
Wow, caretaker. That's huge.
Exactly.
Big deal. Yeah,
So,
thank you.
Coming up on Our Voice is Steve Fulton in our Acoustic Cafe.
Welcome back to Our Voice. We're in our Acoustic Cafe with one of Treasure Valley's most well-known musicians, Steve Fulton. So Steve, thanks so much for being here.
You're welcome, thank you.
First of all, I want to know, did you always want to be an artist?
I did. I decided when I was 7 years old, I told my mom I was going to be a musician.
You did?
Yeah.
That's a pretty young age to know you knew.
Yeah.
So is it everything you expected, or has your journey kind of led you someplace that you had no idea?
It's nothing like I expected. It's great, but it's nothing. You kind of have these dreams of what you think because of just what you've seen. You know, mostly all of the information you get is from media. You know,
right.
So
right.
you don't usually have someone that you can talk to that's been gone all the way through their career. You're not lucky enough to know a person like that. But for me, I saw a concert when I was 7 years old, and then after that concert, I decided I was going to go down that path. And I never did anything else.
Well, would you say that was the person who inspired you the most, or the band that inspired you the most, or that just kind of launched you and there's, you know, another musician that inspired you?
That was, yeah, my mom really inspired me the most, I think. She's always played piano, and she plays guitar. She's in a band. It's awesome.
Oh my gosh, that's fantastic.
Yeah, it's so fun.
So what would you say, I mean, just because you said a lot of information when you were younger, it wasn't out there. So a lot of people who think about, hey, this looks like a great, you know, path to go down. They don't know what it's like to be on a tour band and be gone a lot. What would you say have been your challenges?
Well, you know, the thing about music is normally you get this idea that you have to be successful in the industry. And the thing that I always like to tell young artists is just play music because you love music. Don't think that you've got to be famous. There's a bunch of catchphrases out there that kind of make my skin crawl. The making it and the getting signed. Those two things, you know, there's these catchphrases. And when I was younger, I mean, that was my goal, you know, to get a record deal and all this. And then I had some friends that did get record deals that it just kind of took all the fun out of it and all the art out of it. It just become this thing where other people controlled your art.
Do you have a story that you'd like to share, either one that's impactful or one that's funny or interesting?
Gosh, I don't know. I mean, I think I don't have any specific stories, but I have a lot of people that have just really inspired me a lot. I just got off the phone with Pinto Bennett a few minutes ago, and he's an Idaho legend, and he's a guy that just inspires me. And he's just been a guy that's done it his whole life, and you know, he's almost 70 now. And
okay, but right now you're going to play a song for us, so we're gonna have a listen in our Acoustic Cafe. So here we go.
Tractor that my grandpa owned. We drove down to the deep back roads they used back in the Civil War. We went down to Richmond Hill to find the bones from those who lived and those who died, the people of the People's Fire. Watch us all. Watch us all. There's more than meets the eye at the watch us all. Watch us all. Watch us all. They came up by boat on the Waccamaw. This is where my dad was born, his 1,300-acre home. He was a 16-year-old school bus driver, and his sister Jo could pull the truth from liars. My brothers and my cousins knew this place was where our folks both grew. The vast importance of this past could not extend into our paths. Watch us all, watch us all. There's more than meets the eye at the watch us all. Watch us all, watch us all. They came up by boat on the Waccamaw. 50 years he lived well garden all the fields and trees, with stories deep and rich in pride he shared with others, changing tides. The legends told he got handed down, he cared the brook green gardens ground, the father of my father's dad, descending from a foreign land. But watch his son, watch his son. There's more than meets the eye, you have to watch his son. But watch his son, watch his son. They came up by boat on the Waccamaw. They came up by boat on the Waccamaw. Oh, they came up by boat on the Waccamaw.
My goodness, thank you so much. So you started off your song and you said this has like an Idaho roots, so can you tell us a little bit more about it? You just wrote it.
Yeah, it's pretty new. Anybody who's been to McCall has driven right by this old barn, and all my life I've seen this barn, and it used to, it leaned for so long that we would comment on it, how long is that thing going to stand there, and then it finally fell down. And I just wanted to know what happened to it, and so it fell down. It was all piled up there, and then the next time I came by, it was all cleared away. And I just kept thinking, what in the world happened to that, So I came up with my own ending of what happened to it.
You came up with the story.
Yeah.
That's what I love about songs. I mean, they are storytelling, just another way of telling stories. Okay, so if people want to buy your CD, get a hold of you, how can they do that?
SteveFultonMusic.com is the best way to get to me. Okay. I'm also on Reverb Nation. You can just do a search for Steve Fulton Music.
Okay, well thanks not only for your music, your original music, but also all you do for other artists, because I know you do a lot of recording and you really help other artists as well.
I have to say something.
Yeah.
I would kick myself if I didn't say this. I'm actually working on a record right now.
You have to say that.
I'm sorry, I forgot to say the most important thing. So it's called Eponym, and I'm just starting it. I just started recording it last night, and it's a double CD, and I'll have it out in the fall.
Okay, so we'll have you back on maybe to hear a song after that.
That'd be great.
Awesome.
The Grove Fitness Club and Spa offers a variety of enriching spa services and treatments. Take a moment to pamper yourself. The spa can accommodate a variety of needs and customize a package suited specifically for you. The Spa at the Grove Hotel serves both guests and the community to help release those everyday tensions. Come on by. You deserve it.
Be part of the Our Voice community at Our Voice Idaho.
And participate in our ongoing conversations on our Facebook page.
And we want to take a moment to thank our sponsors, because without our sponsor, we wouldn't even have a show. And remember, your voice matters.
Here on Our Voice.